everybody and welcome back to the channel. Now this week's video I'm going to show you some of the cameras that I bought over this last year and the ones that I like the most. Also a project that you might want to try over this Christmas break or any time really, just to show that small can be beautiful. I'm also going to show you a couple of scanning tips that will improve your black and white negative scanning, whether it be a dedicated film scanner or a flatbed scanner. So I'm going to show you two ways of improving your film scans. But first of all, I'm going to have a little word about YouTube. Right, quick word or two about YouTube. I started my channel around about 3 years ago. It was during the first COVID outbreak where we was locked down at home. We couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go out with the camera. So I thought I'd try and do a video, create a YouTube channel, do a video. I did it with my iPhone, post it on the channel and just see how it goes. And I was quite surprised by the feedback, the comments I got, and I actually got some subscribers. So that inspired me to do another video. And then got more comments, more subscribers. I mean, it suddenly dawned on me that I'm really enjoying this. Prior to doing the videos, I'd go out with my cameras, take pictures. They'd end up as on the hard drive or in negative sleeves, prints in a box, and I couldn't really share my work, and I couldn't share the technical side of it. I could post pictures but not the technical side. So YouTube has given me, the platform of YouTube has given me the ability to create projects. Every video that I do is a project, and I really enjoy doing it, and it gives me a reason to go out and take pictures. So for me, YouTube's been a great place not only to watch videos on whatever you're interested in, but also to share one's knowledge and one's work for everybody to see on a large platform. Not only that, I mean, there are people who can't get out, older people who are interested in photography, fishing, cars, you name it, it's on YouTube, and they can watch the things that they're specifically interested in. I think it's a great thing for people to be able to do. I also think that visual learning is a great tool. It's a great tool to have. It's all right given the technical side, but if you don't see the finished result, you're only halfway there. If people can give you the technical side, how they've actually created a given picture and show you that finished image, then you learn a lot quicker. At least I do, from a visual point of view of learning. Not just reading from a book technical things, but when somebody actually telling you live on a video how they did something and show the end result, it's a great powerful learning tool to have. As I say, people that can't get out, it happened to me actually this year at the end of September. As you know, if you've seen the video, I damaged my back. I couldn't do anything for 6 weeks. And then I ended up getting a chest infection. Then from that I got COVID, and it just the after effects of COVID. And it stopped me doing as many videos as I would like to do. But YouTube has kept my interest in photography, because although I couldn't get out and do videos, I could watch videos from some of my favourite YouTubers, which I'll share with you in a moment. And it just kept my interest going. So it's a great place to share knowledge, to show pictures, and or just a place just to watch the things that you're interested in. But personally for me, it's given my photography a real boost and gives me a reason to go out and take pictures, because I can share the knowledge and the photos on YouTube to a big wide audience. So I'll just show you a small selection of the people that I follow on YouTube and why I follow them. Keep in mind there are thousands of YouTubers out there. Just on one thing like photography, there are literally thousands of them. There's good ones and there's bad ones, but you'll soon find that out. So I'm just showing you a small selection of the people that I enjoy watching. But as I say, there are other people out there. You've just got to search them and find them. So I'll just show you quickly a few that I follow, and I'll tell you the reasons why. Right, I hope the guys I'm going to mention in this part of the video don't mind me giving them a plug, but I think they deserve it. I really enjoy each and every one of their videos. They're always different and enjoyable. And I'll leave a link just in case you've not found them on YouTube. It's a big place, is YouTube. So I'll leave a link to their channels in the description. Check them out and I'm sure you will enjoy them. Now the first person I want to mention is Roger Lowe, shoot film like a boss. Roger's is fun to watch. He pulls no punches. He'll show the good, the bad, the ugly. He shoots large format, medium format, 35mm pinhole, develops his own film. He's not frightened of experimenting with different developers and techniques, and he prints all his own work purely analogue in a dark room that's a converted shed, I think, in his garden, and he does produce some really beautiful prints. So check Roger out and I'm sure you'll enjoy his channel. The next one is Barut Pitaline. Now Barut is a traditional, what you might call, photographer. He does the old processes like wet collodion, platinum, palladium printing, carbon printing. He really is an expert at working this way. He shows how he mixes the chemicals, how he prepares the plates, etc. And he does produce some really stunning photographs using these old methods, and it's really interesting and is worth watching. He's also a very good videographer. Some of his videos are really nice. The next guy, shoot on film, Ari Jaksi. I hope I've pronounced his name correctly. I think he's from Finland. He's got a unique style. Most of his videos are shot in black and white, and he just sort of talks behind the desk, off the cuff, about photography. He shows some of the work that he does. He plays his work down, but he does take some his beautiful pictures. He's a very capable photographer, and I love his style, and I'm sure you would. So check Ari's site out. The next guy is John Finch, Pictorial Planet. This guy knows everything about film and developing film, etc., chemicals. He's got a wonderful website. I think that's called Pictorial Planet. I'm not sure. I'll leave a link if I've got that wrong in the description. But his videos aren't long, but he does produce some interesting videos, and he explains everything in great detail, very slowly, calmly, and shows you how to develop films, how to mix certain developers, etc. And he's very open, is John, to questions, etc. I've asked him things in the past, so another guy I can really recommend. The next one, he doesn't shoot film, he shoots digital. Morten Hilmer. He's a wildlife photographer, and the reason I love watching his work, not only for his beautiful pictures he takes, but the way he does the videoing, it's absolutely fantastic. It's television quality that Morten produces. So if you want a really beautiful video to watch, not only him shooting these wild creatures, these animals in the wild, and producing some beautiful work, it's just the way that he does video it. They're absolutely wonderful videos to watch. So check out his wildlife photography channel. The next one is a chap, I'm not sure, I think he's called Nigel, Xenography. I do enjoy his channel because he's got a really calm way of talking. He talks a lot about the old cameras and lenses, especially some of the old Russian cameras, such as the Zorkis, the old Feds, etc. And you can learn a lot about that from Nigel. And I love to hear him talk about photography in general, because as I say, he's got this lovely calming voice that makes his channel really enjoyable. And finally, a chap called Peter Elgar. Now Peter is knocking on in years, I don't think you'll mind me saying that, but he's a guy that you've got to take your hat off to. He's a chap that I don't think's been well over the years, but I think he was a professional photographer. That's what he did for a living, and he's still interested in photography, and he's a real inspiration to everybody just to listen to him talk about the things that he did in the past, and showing how he showing cameras that people give him. He gets lots of cameras given, etc., and just doing reviews on these old film cameras. So he's a great guy to watch, and he's fun to watch as well. And just keep at it, Peter, because I really enjoy watching your videos. So that's just a small selection of the people that I follow on YouTube. All of them are very interested, and as I say, I'll leave a link in the description and you can check those channels out. That's of course that you're not already subscribed to them. So we'll move on now, and what I'm going to do is show you a way of producing small pictures and then put them in small mounts to create to show that small can also be beautiful as well as large. So we'll move on to that part of the video now. Right, on with the small project that I'm going to show you. You might have seen it before, you might have done it, but for those that don't know, it'll just give you an idea. It's something to keep you busy over the hopefully over the Christmas period, or whenever you want to do it. And it's all to do with printing. Now, when you're in a dark room, the only way you can see the actual pictures, you have to make a print, then you see the picture. Now, if you do the scanning workflow, the hybrid workflow as it's called, like I do, and there's thousands that do it, it's a good thing really, because I think it's helped to keep film alive, because people don't have to have a dark room, they can scan and put it onto a computer. But the danger of that is you scan the negatives, put them on the computer, save the files, and they're just saved on a hard drive, and that's it. I would say, I know you can't print all your pictures, it'd just be ridiculous, but just print some of the pictures that you really like and get them hung on a wall, or put them in a box, because they're a tangible thing that you can get hold of. So I'd always advise that. The only problem is we tend to want to print large, such as this. I'll just show you this. There's a couple of pictures, but I'll show you the top one. This one here, the actual picture size it's a square one, it's 12 by 12, and the actual mount and the frame, the size of that is 23 inches by 18 inches. So it's quite a big print, and you can only hang so many of those in your home. So I'll just turn this back. So we have to think of other methods of showing us work, and one way that I like to do it, and I came across it a few years ago. I was in an art shop and I saw these little packs of pre-cut cards. They're made by a company called Habico or Habic, I'm not sure, but if you Google the name, I'm sure you'll find them. And they come with, I think it's about 5 or 6 of these. Where are they? There's one there. These pre-cut cards. They're all creased, so that's the back of it. And there we have a cutout. Now that cutout is 2.5 by 2.5. I went for square because that would suit the project and the camera that I use, but you can get oval, you can get rectangle, landscape or format, or portrait format cutout, but I went for square. And all I do is I print out a picture on a piece of I use matte papers, and I cut the matte paper to the same width from there, if you can see that, to there, and the same width, and then place the picture so when the paper goes into the mount, the actual picture shows through the cutout there, and then you can then just close the cutout, close it up like that, and you end up with a card. Now that can be signed and titled. It could be posted, because these come with envelopes. You can post this to a friend as a greeting card or whatever. But the other thing that you can do is, rather than leave them open like that, is seal them up and put them in little frames, and they look really, really nice. They're nice and delicate and intimate to look at. And the other thing with this, the last project that I did using these was at a place called Salts Mill. You've seen me go there before. And I took all the pictures with the Holger, and I ended up with pictures like this. Just small pictures printed, fitted into that opening. and I think they look really, really well. Now I haven't framed any of these, because what I actually do with these, when I go to Salts Mill, I just carry a few of these in my bag, and if I get talking to somebody, I just show him the picture in the mount like that, and I've sold a few of these for around about £5 each. So you know, it's just a good way of getting your name about, and it's very satisfying when somebody buys one of your prints, even if it's small like this. So I'll show you the measurements when you use this size card for the cutout, for the paper, etc. And then it's something you can have a go at printing out through your inkjet printer, or it could be a darkroom, it doesn't matter, and get these mounted into this pre-cut call it folder really. So I'll just show you that now. Right, I'll just show you how I actually get the print into this folder. The first measurement you need to take is the measurement of the opening. Now keep in mind this is a square image. It measures 2 3/8, but I'd always advise printing a little bit bigger, so you've got a little bit of what you might call wiggle room. So I'd print the actual image size at 2.5. The next measurement you want to take is open the folder like that. You want the width of it from crease to crease, and that is 4 inches, and then the height from top to bottom, which is 5 and near enough 5 3/4 inches. Now I do this exactly that size when I print. I cut a piece of paper at that size, and that ensures that it fits straight into this folder without messing about. But the important thing is to get the actual image when you do that, so when you put the actual paper in, the image shows through that area. So I end up with a print like this. This is printed on fine art paper, and as you can see, because I've done it exactly, it fits in perfectly like that, folds over, and you get the picture showing through the front. Now once you've done that, you can sign it. I've just printed it back, or stamped on back my name, say that I've captured and printed this, and you could post that as a gift to somebody. You could try and sell some of these to a shop, see if they want to buy them off you and sell them, or you could actually glue that back onto this back, or double-sided tape, and put this picture into a frame. The actual picture size is 6x4, so you're going to get the actual mount size is 6x4. So you know you'll be able to get a ready-made frame that'll go around this, and they'll look really, really nice when they are framed. And the beauty of doing it this way is that because they are small and intimate, you've got to get close to look at them. Well, the picture I showed you before was 23 by 18 inches. You can't get many of those on a wall. So if you go somewhere and you've got 5 or 6 pictures of the same place where you've visited and you'd like to display them, doing it this way, you could easily get 5, 6, 7 pictures all on one part of a wall set out, and it doesn't take much room up at all. So they do look really, really nice this way, and I think it's because they are different. So that's the way I do it. It's easy, and once you've got the layout set up, you're ready to go, and you can just whip them up easily and get them in these folders. Right, we'll move on now, and I'll just show you some of the pictures I took at Salts Mill. The pictures are actually inside the folders. Right, there's 8 pictures here, all taken with my Holga 120N medium format camera at Salts Mill, and because I've printed them small like this, I can show all these pictures off in one go. The small intimate pictures, but they are very interesting when you get close up to them, and it's just a way of getting your pictures off a hard drive if you do the scanning workflow, and hanging them for people to see, to show your work off. The thing is as well, if you get these into frames, they take up very little space. So as I say, there's 8 pictures here. You could hang all those pictures in the same area as the picture I showed you previously at 23 by 18, and they would look really, really nice shown that way. So it's a great way of working, and I find it very enjoyable, and it's just a way of, you know, showing your work off in a different sort of different way. Right, we'll move on now, and I'll show you some of the scanning tips that I use that I'm sure will improve your scanning workflow. Before I show you the first scanning tip, I managed to find a frame. It's not a frame of my choice really, it's just one kicking about, but it gives you an idea how nice these small pictures can look like when they are framed. I like it with the picture further to the top because it means you can put a title or a bit of writing at the bottom to make the actual picture even more interesting. So I just thought I'd show you that. I think I would prefer a black frame, thinner frame, or maybe a silver one, but it just gives you an idea. Right, we'll move on to the first scanning tip. Right, here's my first scanning tip. If you're the user of an Epson V800 flatbed scanner or even the Epson V850, you'll know by now that the film negative holders are not that good really. For the price you pay for the scanner, I would expect them to be a lot better, but they're not good. Especially the medium format one. I find the best one is the 4x5 holder. That seems to hold the negatives nice and flat, but this one is not good at all, and I'll show you why. If we turn it over and we unclip it, as you see, even clipping it feels like it's going to break, and we place a medium format negative onto the frosted perspex. That stops anti-neutron rings, and then close the holder. Even that can be awkward. You can see that the negative is not lying flat. I can move it up and down, so the negative is slightly bowed. And worse still, when we turn it over to put it in the scanner, gravity is going to pull it even further down. So the way around it, and you're going to have to butcher the holder. So here's a disclaimer here that if you mess up your holder, don't blame me. I'm just showing you how I did it. First of all, you've got to remove this negative holder. Just clips off. And I've actually modified this one, but if you look carefully at your holder, you'll find there's 3 squares there at either side, and they've got little lugs that stick out, and they just protrude onto the perspex. I think they're there to hold the perspex in place, but those are the problem, because when you put the negative in, they ride over those little lugs that come out, and you can never get the negative flat. And it's so important to get good scans, especially with a flatbed scanner that's not autofocus, to get the negative flat. And that means once it's flat, you can adjust the height using these legs to get the optimal sharpness. In fact, on mine, the actual to get the optimal sharpness, I have to shove the legs to the highest position on all of them, and I've even had to put a little bit of tape on the feet of those adjustable sliders, so I can get as sharp a picture as I can out of the flatbed scanner. I would say that this is something that after you've got the negative, modified this and got the negative flat, you just have to experiment at the height that your scanner needs to get the optimal sort of sharpness. That they will all differ. So as I say, you have to do this with care. If you scratch anything or scratch this, you've ruined this holder, so be very, very careful. You need a very sharp knife, and all you have to do is place a ruler up to the edge, and where those square parts are there, the 3 at this side, the same 3 at that side, is slowly cut across like this until you cut those lugs off, and do it on every one. And as you can see on there now, all this is dead flat. So when I put the negative in, it's not resting on those areas. So once I show you what I do next, you'll see that the negative lays completely flat. So the next thing I did was I got some glass cut to the same size as this perspex, and I've used tape as a hinge, and I just place that into that opening like that, tape it down there, and then I've got a hinge, put my 35mm negative in, not 35mm, a medium format, and then just press down and tape it there. and now that negative is dead flat, and it means when I turn it over, gravity can't pull it down, it still remains flat, and it means that I can get the optimal sharpness that you can get from these scanners, knowing that the negative is flat, by adjusting these feet. So that's the way I work it. Not only that, but because I've done it this way, you can use any negative as long as it's not wider than this opening. So if we want to scan 35mm negatives, we place them in the holder like that. Keep in mind you can't put 6 in, you have to cut your strips into 5. Push it up to the edge there and very slowly put the glass into place. Just move slightly there. Put the glass into place and then tape it down. And your negative, your 35mm negative, is completely flat. And again, when you turn it over like that, gravity doesn't pull it down, and it keeps it firm and it keeps it flat. And it's worked for me, and I have got better scans. I've even got some decent 35mm scans working this way. But as I say, you have to do some modification to this Epson holder, and be very careful when you're using a knife that you don't scratch this perspex. So that's my first scanning tip. It does work, and it's well worth trying. So we'll move on to the next tip. I'll have to go on the computer for this one. So this is my second tip on scanning, and it's one that we will have all encountered. Because we're scanning black and white film and it's silver based, you cannot use digital eyes to remove dust and scratches. So dependent on how dusty your negative is, and sometimes you can spend ages cleaning them up, but the dust is embedded somehow within the negative, and there's no way you can get them out. In a dark room you'd have to respot them. On a computer we can get rid of them using the clone stamp tool or the healing tool, but depending how many dust specks there is and scratches, it's a very time consuming process. So in this tip I'm going to show you how to do it quickly, and it just speeds up the scanning workflow. Now this is a low resolution scan. I'm just going to do a high resolution scan now, but even on this low resolution scan you can see there's dust all over the negative. So once this is scanned, I'll open it into Photoshop. It'll go into Photoshop as a negative because I'm scanning it as a raw TIFF file. You might work differently, but the end result is a positive image, and this is where you will see all the dust and scratches. Now it depends what type of scanner you're using. I'm using a Nikon 5000 ED scanner, and that really shows up every little speck of dust on the negative. If you're using an Epson flatbed scanner, it won't show up as much dust because it's not focusing. It's not an autofocus scanner, and it's not focusing on the grain. So the dedicated scanners, like the Nikon, tend to show more dust specks. Right, that's scanned, so I'll open that into Photoshop. And it'll come in without a profile. I'll assign a profile. I'll just do this quickly. Rotate the image. I go to the plugin that I convert it from a negative to a positive. We'll just let that go up that and click OK. And then when we zoom into the image, we can see it is absolutely full of dust. Now I didn't blow this off purposely. I just wanted to show you how, just imagine how long it would take you to clean all these bits off this negative. If I'd have dusted it off, I would have removed some, but you can see it would take you literally hours to clean it up. So this is the way you can do it quickly. Now these tutorials working this way are on YouTube already, but I just work in a slightly different way. So the first thing to do is copy the layer, Ctrl J on a Windows machine, and then go to the filter tab and go to noise, dust and scratches. Now in this dialog box we've got the radius and we've got the threshold. And what we want to do is find an area, which ain't going to be hard on this one, where there's lots of dust specks. I'll just set this back to radius up so we can, whoops. There we go. So we can see the specks of dust all over the place. Now the idea here is to adjust the radius and the threshold. So it's removing the white specks, but it's not softening the image in any way. So it's just trial and error, and you know, different films you need different settings, but it's just trial and error, and you do get used to it. So let's try 7 radius, and then we'll bring down the threshold to 30. And if I do a preview, you can see that it's removed all those bits of dust from the image. Now, one thing you have to be careful of, the dust specks in lighter areas, it removes them really good, and it'll remove them in the darker areas, but using this can have an adverse effect in the darker areas on the image, so you have to be very careful with that. So if we press OK, then we go to the history, which is there. We put a tick in the dust and scratches there, and then we go to the layer behind it, and then we select the history brush, which is there, and make sure that the mode is set to darken. And then how I work with this, I will use the history brush, and I will paint in or paint out all the dust specks. Now it won't do everyone, but it will do, I'd say, 90% of them. The other ones you just have to remove manually. This doesn't work that well with scratches, but normally you don't get that many scratches on the negative, and you can remove them using the other tools in Photoshop, such as the healing brush or the clone stamp tool. So if we look now, we can see, if I click the preview on and off, how it's removed all those dust specks, and it's nearly removed that little scratch just down here, little scratch there. If we go up to the top, you see all the dust, it's all there, and then press that, and it's disappeared. But it hasn't affected the look of the image. The only place that it will do, and if I go to this area, you can see some of the highlights on this chap's coat. If I click that off, it kills some of those highlights, so you've got to be careful in these darker areas. So now that I've done that, the way I work differently is I add a layer mask. Just press Alt, this is on a Windows machine, and the Add Layer Mask icon at the bottom of the layers palette there, and then fill it with black, and then I can use the brush tool to paint out all the dust and scratches. But it helps because I can put a red mask in place by pressing the backslash key on the keyboard, and then with the brush set to white, just paint out all the dust and scratches. And as I say, I don't want to completely paint out this chap that sat down with his phone, because I know it's going to have an effect on the darker areas and the sort of highlights there. So that's removed 95% of all the scratches within the image, apart from this guy that sat looking at his phone. If I want to paint back, I just change the brush to black. Paint out, change it to white. Now, if we look at the guy now and take the mask off, you press the backslash key again. The best way with this is just to go manually in with the brush, set to white, and then just paint out quickly those areas. And you'll find that there's a spot in his face there. It gets rid of it. Spot on the hat, on the hand, little bits here, the leg there, and that's pretty much it. And if there's any areas that you can't get rid of, then you have to resort to using the healing brush or the clone stamp tool. So because I've done all that, I'll layer flatten. Again, I'll copy the layer, Control J, and then I'll probably use the healing brush, spot healing brush tool, and then these bigger areas, just paint those out, those bigger spots that the dust and scratch remove wouldn't remove. This one, if you want to get rid of the scratches, just go again and click the patch tool, make a selection around the scratch, drag it up and let go, and it removes the scratch. Sometimes that doesn't work and you have to do it with the clone stamp tool. So back to the spot healing tool, and I think that's about it. So the negative is, there's a little speck there, and one there. And to all intents and purposes, the negative is cleaned up, and you can see it only took me a couple of minutes to do that. So that's my second tip. It's one that you need to practice. The adjustment in the dust, this one here, in the filter, noise, dust and scratches, you have to get used to adjusting this. What you don't want to do is adjust it like this. Let's say on the guy's head, I'll just go a little bit smaller there, bring it down a little bit. Where we're using too much threshold, which completely softens the image, or using too much radius, that has weird effects on the image. So you just got to get it right, so it just removes the dust specks, and once you get used to this, it's really quick to clean your negatives up. So that's the end of the second tip. Practice it, and I'm sure you'll be flying through your negatives rather than cleaning them all up. You'll get through a roll very quickly working this way. Right, we'll move on finally, and I'll show you some of the cameras that I bought this year and the ones that I like most. So, as you've just seen in that short video clip, that I do own quite a few cameras. That's not all of them. I have some in camera bags, some in boxes, etc. I just love the old film cameras. They are getting more expensive now, some of the models, but a lot of the more expensive ones I bought quite a while back, and they are going up in value, so it was a good investment. But all these cameras, they all do the same thing. They capture light through the lens onto a negative. And but the beauty is that they come in all forms and shapes and sizes. We can go from the 120-year-old Teb number 5. I did a video on this camera. A beautiful old camera, and it takes absolutely really nice pictures. I was really surprised with this camera. And I paid next to nothing for that one. And then we can go then from the go to the really tiny little Minox 35 GT camera, or we can go to the large cameras. This is a Chamonix 4x5. So we have a lot of choice when it comes to film cameras, a lot more than we have digital. And that's the fun of film photography, because you have all this choice. You can get cameras going back like the Teb from the 1900s, and you can get film cameras nearly up to the 2000s and a little bit beyond. And they're all different, they all have a different feel, they all have a different character. Yes, they do the same thing, but they're just so much fun to use. Now, the purchases that I've made this year, not just purchases, I've also had cameras given. I'll just run you through them quickly. The first one that I bought was this. It's a Kodak, let me open the camera, number 2 folding pocket camera. I've just put a film in to test it there, the winding mechanism. I put light seals on this camera, and I'm going to do a video because the shutter works fine on this. Just got to go out and test it and do a video. So there's that one. The other purchase I made this year was this one. It's the Baby Rolleiflex. It's a beautiful little camera. Although this camera, and I think with a lot of these more sophisticated cameras, you have to build into the cost when you buy them to have them serviced. This one, the slow shutter speeds were too slow and the focusing was out, so I had to have this serviced, and I think it cost me about £70, but it's well worth it because it keeps this camera going for a lot of years now, and I'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. The only thing, it takes 127 film, but that's readily available these days. You can buy it already cut. This is HB 400, it's Ilford HB 5 that's cut to 127. It fits straight into this camera. So that was one of the purchases. Another one, I think this was this year, and I think I paid about £80 for this. This is the Kiev 4. It's a beautiful camera, is this. It's basically a Contax. It feels solid as a rock. I've done a video of this as well, and this takes beautiful pictures. It's got a wonderful rangefinder window. So there's that one there. I didn't buy it, I had this given this year, and it's what they call a drop plate camera. I don't think I'll probably ever use it, but the shutter still works on this camera. You see there, and the aperture lever, although a little bit stiff, it still works. Now apparently this camera took, it's nearly stuck there, it needs a bit of oil on that, but this camera you could put I think about 5 plates in it, or I'm not sure, sheets of film, and when you'd taken one picture, you pulled the lever, that plate dropped out of the way and a new plate dropped in, so you wasn't constantly changing dark slides. They were all in the camera. But I just like this for its novelty factor, really. It's a very, very old camera, but it's really beautiful when you look at it from the front. So that's that one. I bought this one. This is the Agfa Clack 6x9 camera. This is a camera that I've got to do a video on, but it's a beautiful camera, works perfectly. The shutter's absolutely fine on it. I don't know, where's the shutter button? There we are. And it's in really good condition considering its age. So that's the Agfa Clack. I paid very little for that. Another camera that I had given was this one. I'm not sure what model this is. It has a HW on the top. Someone's inscribed the name on it, so there's some history with that. I fitted a rangefinder on this camera because it's a scale focus one. I have to adjust the focus on this because it's slightly out, but I will get it working. But the shutter's working absolutely fine. How do we fire it? So you might have to wind it on. Yeah, it works. So you've got to wind it on so you're not going to double expose. So it's a great camera, is that, in beautiful condition. So I had that one given. What else have we got? Sometimes you can buy ones that just don't work. Now I bought this one, I only paid like £10 for it. I bought it for the lens really, but the bellows are shot on this. Someone's tried to coat it in with that rubber solution, but it's not worked. But the shutter's still working, and it's one of the autograph models, a large medium format ones where you lift up that flap and you could write on the backing paper. I don't think you can do that with modern films, but it's still a nice camera. Yes, it's a #1 autographic Kodak Junior, but look how it's look at the legs at the stand, the leg that it stands on, how beautiful it's typed out there onto the metal. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's a great camera for display. Might one day get it working. Another camera that I bought this year, well, I didn't buy it, my son bought it. It's another Kodak camera. It's a Kodak number 1A folding pocket Kodak camera. Now this shoots, I think it's 117 film, and I'm in the process of converting this so I can shoot 120 roll film, and I really want to try this. Although the shutter on this is sticking a little bit, so I need to just take it off. It comes off easy on this camera. It just turns like that, and it just pulls off, and there's the shutter. So I've got to get inside that shutter and just clean it up and get it working. So I will get that working. Another purchase I bought. Now this is not an old camera. It's a modern camera. It's a Lomo LCA 120 medium format camera. I've done a couple of videos of that. Great camera. And finally, I think that's it. Finally, I had this camera given. It's a Bessa 1. The only problem I had with this, that the focusing wasn't correct, the scale focusing, so it's easy to adjust on this camera, and I probably put a rangefinder when I use these cameras. It's a 6x9, but again it's a beautiful camera that works absolutely perfectly. Wind it on, you can let it click, you can't double expose. It's a really nice camera. So they're coming all forms, all shapes and sizes, and they're all enjoyable to use, and quite a few of them are not that expensive. But I'd say buy some film cameras if you can. They are going up in price, and they're getting more desirable. And the cameras that I do like out of the purchases that I've made this year, I think the favourite one has to be this one. It's the Lomo LCA 120. It's an absolute wonderful camera, medium format cameras to use, because you get really good results with it. It's light to carry, and you don't have to have a light meter. You just let this camera just point and shoot with it. And I found it very enjoyable. So that's probably my favourite purchase this year. The second one is this one, the Baby Rolleiflex. A great little camera to use. I've really enjoyed using this. It's so light, and compared to its bigger brother, my 3.5F, this is twice as light, and it's half the size really when you look at it. So, as I say, the beauty of film photography is in the choices that you have, a lot more than what we have with digital. They never sort of what you might call go out of date, because they just do the same thing. They've just got a lens and a shutter, and you expose the film. They're just a pleasure to use. I enjoy looking at them, and if you go on eBay or go to camera fairs and etc., sometimes you can get some really good bargains. So that is it, the end of the video, the last video of 2022. I hope you enjoyed it. I've tried to keep it interesting for you to watch over the Christmas period. Talking about some of the guys that I follow, just a small selection of the guys that I follow on YouTube, then making these small prints, the scanning tips that I've given you, and then just looking at some of these old cameras that I have. And I must say, I use all of them, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, a like, better still, subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, leave them below. And at this time of year, I'd like to wish you all a very happy Christmas. Have a great time, and all the best in the new year. And thank you to everybody who's supported the channel over the years, those that's bought my prints, that subscribe to the channel, that's made comments, that donate to the channel. Thank you so much. It makes doing this much more pleasurable, knowing that people are enjoying the videos that you're producing. So that's it. As I say, happy Christmas, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay safe, and don't drink too much.